Okay, we'll be waiting for 2 more minutes, then we will start. Okay, now should we start?
Hello, Bhumika.
Yes.
I think so. We should start because participants will continue joining if like they will be joining, and I think so. We are already running out of time,
Yeah, sure,
so we should start.
sure. So, good afternoon, everyone. Um, I hope you all are doing well. Welcome to Flutter Festival Series Session 3. So, in last session, we have discussed about some very basic topics of that, like variables, keywords, loops, and control structures. These are very common concepts in all programming languages. So, in today's session, we will be learning about some advanced topics like functions, oops concepts. So, not taking your much of time, I would like to hand over to Pravar.
Hello, good
Yes,
afternoon to
Pravar.
all. Uh, Welcome to day two of the Data Essentials session. And in day one, we learned these things. We created our first Dart program and learned about programming fundamentals such as variables, keywords, operators, control structures, and loops. Today, we are going to learn about functions. Okay. A function is a set of a statement to perform a specific task, or we can say that function is a set of a statement that takes input, do some specific computation, and produces outputs. Okay, functions organize the program into logical blocks of code. Okay, functions are always created when certain statements are repeatedly occurring in the program, and a function is created to replace them. Okay, function makes it easy to divide the complex program into smaller subproblems or subgroups and increase the code reusability of the program. Okay, this makes the code reusable. So let's try to uh, learn about the syntax of the function in the Dart programming language. So the first line our any function and the declaration of any function, we first write the return type of any function, and then we put the function name. Okay. And after that, parameters. And this is the body of function. And here we return if we want to return anything. So the function name, the function name defines the name of the function. Okay. And the here the return type defines the data type in which output is going to return by this function. And here the return, which we where we return a value. So the return value defines the value to be returned from the function. Okay. Now let's take a look at how we can call a function in our program. For calling a function, we use this syntax. We first put function name, and inside this bracket, we may put argument list, or if the function doesn't accepting any arguments, that will be fine. Okay, the function name defines the name of the function here also, and the argument list is the list of the parameter of that function requires. Now let's make a simple function to add two numbers. Okay, so first we write the return type of that function, and then we write the name of the function, and after that we insert some parameters. Here we need two parameters because we are writing two numbers, and then we do some calculation. Here we add a plus b, and then we return the result. And in the main function, we call this function by giving the value 2 and 3, and we want the sum of 2 and 3. To get the sum of 2 and 3, we have to store it in a variable. And if we run this, okay, sorry, we can put an enter statement here. Now, now this is returning the output of the function. Here we made a function for printing the table of 2. And before going to the next slide, I am going to tell you about some new thing that in Dart, a variable cannot store a value with null. With null means a variable cannot store a null value. Uh, if we take a example and if we print a here, shows us an error because we didn't give any value to a, and if there is no value given to any variable, then it shows an error. If we do not want it to, then we have to put a question mark here. And if we didn't give any value to the a, it automatically initialize that array with a null value. So if we run now, the value of a is null here. Okay, a variable cannot store a null value, but it can be possible by using a question mark operator. This operator is called as nullable operator or nullable type. Okay, there is an opposite operator of this. If we want to store any value in a nullable type, but we know that that value is not null at that time, so uh, we can use this assertion operator here. It is used to make a nullable expression as non-nullable, and if you are certain that it is not null, if you know that at that point that value returned from that function or anything is not null, then you put this assertion operator. Okay, so let's back to the function. There are three ways here. We took two parameters. There are three more ways for writing the parameters in our function, for adding parameters in our function. Uh, the three ways are: the first one was optional positional parameter, and the second one was optional named parameter, and the third one was optional parameter with default values. Let's take an example. Then it will be more clear. Here we wrote an optional positional parameter. Optional positional parameter are written inside a square bracket. Okay. Now, if we run this, we pass 10. Here it shows an error because we didn't give any value to that optional parameter. So we have to initialize it with this. And if there is no value sent to that parameter, it will return uh, null value for that parameter. So if we run now, so t1 is 10 and t2 is null. And if we say send any parameter entry here, then it goes to the t2 parameter and it returns the value as, and stores the value in the t2 parameter. Okay, so this is the optional parameter. And there is another one which is the optional named parameter, where we specify name for parameter here. And there's a little bit to change in the syntax. Let's take a look. For optional named parameter, we use curly braces, and after that we put our parameter. So here again we can call it with a 10, and because we are not passing any value to t2 and t3, we have to put this operator, a label type operator. Now if we run this, it is looking like that. And the feature which we are using here, the optional named parameter, here we can send any parameter by giving the name. So we want t3 uh, to be 10, to be 30. Okay. And if we run this, the t3 is going to be initialized with 30 value. Okay. This is the use of optional named parameter. And there is third type of declaring a parameter is the default valued parameter. Okay. Here the syntax remains same as the optional named parameter. Okay, but here we initialize the t2 with any default value. Let's say, and now if we put m3 with the value, then it is initializing the t1 with 10 and the t2 with the default value. Okay, so we have to put this nullable type because we are not sending any value to that parameter. So that shows an error if we run this. This is used for, this feature is came in a Dart before the 2.12 version, after the 2.12 version, and before the 2.12 version, the value, if you do not initialize any value with any, if you do not initialize any variable with any value, it automatically insert a null value in that variable. But after 2.12 version of the Dart, we have to put a label type operator after the return type, after the data type of any variable, so that it can store null value also. Okay. So this is for function, and but there is a problem here that we write the code for printing the table of two, in which we are setting the value by ourselves also, and we want the value from the user, means we want input from the user. So we have to write a statement like this for taking value from user. Okay. So I will briefing you about it. In Dart programming language, you can take a standard input from the user through the console via the use of read line sync, by the use of read line sync function. Okay. To take input from the console, we have to import a library of Dart, which is named as Dart IO, which is imported here. Okay. To it is imported to use this statement read line sync. So I will tell you about a string class where here we use that. So this class allows the user to read data from standard input in both synchronous and asynchronous phase. The method readline sync, the method readline sync is one of the method used to take input from the user. Okay, so let's make a file. For taking input from user, let's look at this example. We are taking a string here. So let me write it. We have to use the std class, and then inside the std class there is a function name for data line sync. It will take uh, the written part of console and insert it into the name variable. Okay, so before that we have to import the class, import the library of Dart use. Here we print the name. So it will going to print my name, which value I given here. It will return me. If I make it more readable, then That's the way we can take input from the user. And now let's take an integer type value from the user. Here there are some changes in syntax. So this line is returns any part of the console which we input given by the user into a string type variable, and here we want an integer type variable, so we have to use the int class. And from the int class we use this parse function, and inside that parse function we are going to write this. Okay. It will not work here now. Here we have to use this assertion operator, because we know that in the because we know that here when we are taking any input from the user, it will not be null value. So here we put the assertion operator, and after this it will work fine. So we can take input from user in the format of a string by using this syntax, and for integer we are using this syntax. If you want a double, then you just put a double dot here replacing the int. You must write double. Fine. Okay. And there are also two ways of printing output in Dart. The first one, which you know already, that this is the print function, and the second one is stdout dot write. Yes. If you see that both hello and welcome are written in the single line, so the stdout dot write doesn't go to the next line by default. So we can use here slash n, or the print function is the print statements brings the cursor to the next line, while stdout dot write don't brings the cursor to the next line. It remains in the same line. Okay. now uh, there are little bit more things in function here. There are also a few more types of function, such as the recursive function and the lambda function. Okay, so recursive functions are the functions which functions call itself. It is a good way to avoid repeatedly calling the same function to get the input. So let's create a recursive function here. I'm going to write the code for the Fibonacci series. I want one parameter here. Check the condition if any is less than true. So the fifth Fibonacci number is 5, and this code is working recursively because it call itself again and again. Here this function is calling itself again and again, and it terminates when it meet this condition for breaking the recursion. Okay, and there is another type of function which is known as a lambda function. They are the short way of representing a function in Dart. They are also called as arrow function in some other programs, such as in JavaScript. But you should note that with the lambda function, you can return value for only one expression. Okay, so let's create a lambda function. There are two syntax for writing the lambda function. This is the one type, and the another type is you can use the var keyword to make a variable, and after that, load a function. Uh, if we use to initialize a lambda function or define declare a lambda function using this type of syntax, then the parameter goes here And if we using the where keyword, then the parameter goes here. Okay, if you want to send any parameter, then you have to just write the name of that parameter or anything. These are the two ways of making lambda function. That's it. And we define four types of function also. Uh, a function can have no arguments and no return type. A function can have with arguments and no return type, or a function can have no arguments and return type, and it may be with arguments and return types. These are the four ways in which we define our function or make our function. Now let's go to the class. Okay, so as I told you in yesterday class, that session, that Dart is an object-oriented programming language, so it supports the concept of class or objects. Uh, in Dart, we can define classes and objects for our own, by our own, and we use the class keyword to use it, to make the class, to make a class. So let's see the syntax of a class. The syntax of a class looks like this. We first put the keyword name class, and after that we put class name, and inside the curly braces put the body of the class. Here, the class is the keyword which is used to initialize the class. Okay, and class name is the name of the class, and the body of class consists of fields, constructors, getter and setter methods. Okay, I already told you this, that fields, class body consists of fields, getter, setter, constructors, and functions. Okay. Now let's see what was the syntax of declaring an object of a class. Okay. By making an object, we use functions, or we access the body of the class by making functions. So for in the syntax of declaring an object of a class is we put the var keyword and object name, and then we use a keyword called new, and then class name, and after that we insert arguments. It is optional, but it may be or may not be. Okay. So here a new is the keyword used to declare the instance of class, which we called object. Okay, and the object name is the name of the object, and its naming is similar to the variable name. In Dart, it is used similar as variable name. Okay, and the class name is the name of the class whose instance variable is being created. Okay, and the arguments are the input which are needed to pass if we are willing to call a constructor. If we are willing to call a constructor made in this class, then we put argument. Okay, let's take so the class body consists of these four parts: fields, getter, setter, constructor, and functions. So a field is any variable declared in a class. Field represent data pertaining of to object. Okay, and the getter setter methods are allow the U programmers to initialize and retrieve the value from of the field of a class, and the constructor are responsible for allocating memory for the object of the class, and the functions represent action an object can take, means the operations we want to perform on an object. Here we define a class for that. Okay, the here we are declaring a class named car, okay, with a function, and here we are creating an object by using this where object, and using the new keyword, and after that we are writing the name of that class, and here is no need of any argument because we didn't create any constructor here. Okay, so by using an object, here is the same class car class, we made this object and of this car class, and by using this object we can access the this function made inside that class. So here we are using this. Let's run this. If we are so this is printing the same printing print method. Here it is printing this value, the string value of engine. Here it is printing the engine E1001. Okay, we access any property or any function of a class by using this dot operator. Okay, after we put the name of the object, and then we use the dot operator, and after that dot operator we call any function of that class. Okay, here we made a constructor of class car. The constructor name starts the constructor name and the name of the class remains always same. Okay, and by using constructor we can initialize the variable or fields of a class, but here we are not doing that, we are just printing the value which came in the constructor. So here we prints the this string. Okay, if we want to make more constructor, or you can say that a parameterized constructor, which is also known as named constructor in Dart, we use this after the name of the class. We use any name dot named constructor, we can use any name here, and after that we can initialize it as our function or anything we want it to use for. Okay, so let's copy, and if you run this first, uh, we initialize nothing in the argument list, so it by default running the uh, this constructor because it has no arguments, and if we pass any argument in it, then it will run this constructor. Okay. There is also a concept which is the this keyword which we use in our class. The this keyword refers to the current instance of the class, which means here in this example we are sending an argument, this string argument, and this string argument is stored in this variable, in this engine variable, and this engine variable and this engine variables are different. They have another memory address, not same memory address. And by using the this keyword, we are initializing this value into this keyword in this variable. This dot engine here uses this variable, and we are initializing this value we that we send from here into uh, this string. Okay, so okay, now it is going to work fine because it is not initialized with any value. That's why it is showing error. Okay, and there is also a part in the body of a class which was the getter and setter methods. So syntax for defining a getter method is this, and for setter method is this. These functions are used for setting a value or setting a field of any class, and this value is used for getting that value. Means if you want to return anything, if you want to take uh, the field of a class, then we use this getter value functions, and for setting any particular field we use this setter value. There is no need of writing this get or set. uh, these are just a keyword you can use or cannot be, all depends on you. And here is a fun program where we uh, created a class named a student. Here there are two fields, string name and age, and here we set the student name. Means if we pass any value by using that object, we are setting that value to uh, this field here. We are setting we are making an object s1, and in the student name we are sending the mark value as a string. So here in the student name we are setting the mark value, and by using this set method we can set that name to our field. Okay, and we are doing same with the student age, with the set student age here. And to return that value and to print that value, we use this get student name. The benefit of using get and set keyword is that you can write the same name of that function or getter or setter function with the different types of keywords, get and set keywords. And if you don't want to use it, then you have to write the whole name of that getter statement or a setter statement different from each other to uniquely identify them. Okay, so we can also run this. Here we have to use this nullable type operator. And after that, if we run this, sorry, we take a look at this after completing all the session. So let's talk about inheritance. We can also use inheritance in our Dart programming language. And inheritance is the process of creating a new class called a derived class from existing class. These existing class are called base class, and the derived class inherit all the capabilities of the base class but can add new features and refinement of their own. Okay, so to inherit any class, we use, if we make a class named base, and if you want to inherit this class into a class named derived, then we have to write a keyword extends, and after that we write the name of the class. Using this extends keyword, we can do inheritance in Dart programming language. Okay, there are multiple types of inheritance available in Dart programming language. The single inheritance, which is this, and the multiple inheritance, which is when a class inherits more than one parent class. Then this is called the multiple inheritance type. Okay, and multi-level inheritance, when a class inherits another child class, then this uh, is called a multi-level inheritance. And hierarchical inheritance, this is one the fourth one inheritance available in Dart programming language. More than one class have the same parent class, then this is called the hierarchical inheritance. There is an important point to take in consideration during inheritance is child class inherits all properties and methods except constructor of the parent class, which means the child class cannot inherit the parent class. To do that, we have to use a unique keyword which is called as super. I'm not going to tell you about this in today's session. It's all up to you. Okay. There is also a class named abstract class. Okay. An abstract class in Dart is defined for those class which contain one or more than one abstract method. Okay. Whereas to declare abstract class, we make use of the abstract keyword. To make an abstract class, we use abstract keyword. Okay. There are some features of abstract class. A class containing an abstract method must be declared abstract, whereas the class declared abstract may or may not have abstract methods. Okay. And the second feature of abstract class is a class can be declared abstract by using abstract keyword only. You cannot make abstract class without using abstract keyword. And a class declared as abstract cannot be initialized. Okay. And an abstract class can be extended, but if you inherit an abstract class, then you have to make sure that all the abstract methods in it are provided with the implementation. Okay. Then let's make abstract class. We are making two methods here. Here we are extending this abstract class, another class named BIST. And here we are going to initialize the or we here we are going to define the another value of that function, because here we didn't define any uh, body of that function. So in abstract class, if we extend or if we inherit abstract class in any another class, we have to rewrite or initialize that function written inside the abstract class. So for that we have to use to write the body of that class. But there is a problem because we are here we are overriding this function here in our BIST class. We are overriding this function, save function. So we have to put at the rate override here. So it will work fine. And if you want to write the body of that write function, then we also have to override it. Now that will be write our own implementation. Here we first we declared an abstract class called GDSC and create an abstract method say or write, okay, inside it. And after that we extend the GDSC class to the second class, which was the BIST class, and override the methods say and the right, which results in their respective output. Okay. There is a last concept which I told you in the yesterday session, that there is an operator called cascade operator. Okay, so this operator is used when we want to operate a sequence of operations on the same object. Okay. This cascade notation is denoted by the double dot symbol. Okay, so now let's look at a simple example of this. Here we are making a class. So here we are making an object of our class. Okay. So the normal way of using the functions inside the class, we use this. So we the normal way of using the operator for calling any function inside that class, we use the single dot operator. But if we want to use the cascade notation or cascade operator, we can do this. We just write the name, and after that we put two dots we write all those functions. And after that, this into the next line, and after that we again insert the cascade notation or the double dot, and then we write another function 3, and after that we again write int values. It will work like that. The cascade notation will work like this. So we don't have to write the same operator or same object name again and again by using the cascade operator. That's it. That's it. And
If anyone has any doubt, you can ask, or you can put your doubts in chat box. We will share these slides in with you in our official WhatsApp group. And thank you, Pravar, for this insightful session. I hope you all are now able to write a program in Dart language. Dart is just similar like CPP and JavaScript, I think so. So it is easy to learn, and you can go with it. I hope you all are practicing for it. As you know, Dart is created by Google, which leaves us with no doubt that Dart has excellence in the future. As the name, Google itself creates a vibe of trust towards the language, right? So um, it and also it is easy to learn, and after it you can learn Flutter and create amazing apps. You can implement your ideas in applications. So uh, this all about Dart. And we are thinking for for next week weekend, we will take sessions on Flutter essentials and Firebase. So stay tuned with us and keep learning. If there is no doubt, so we can end the session. Thank you everyone for stay at the end of the session. So Rekha, would you like to add something?
No, Bhumika, I'm fine with it. So I think so. First of all, I would like to thank Prava for this very insightful and just going to be really helpful for many beginners. Thank you, Prava, and also Bhumika for handling the event so well. I think so. For today's session, we are well. So um, yes, I'm fine with it.
Okay, thank you, Surekha. Okay, so we can end the call. Bye everyone, bye.